You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGachy, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers.
Woo! We made it. We're here. This is the first episode of 2021, and it feels a bit surreal. It also feels a bit surreal to be starting it off on such a strong note. I am so excited about this episode. We had a blast recording it, and if you haven't heard the first time that Yvette was on the podcast, I mean, you're definitely going to want to go check that out. Either before or after this episode, whatever is best for you. In that episode, we got a little bit more into her story. And on this one, we just go. She specifically requested when we got started that we try to break a podcast record for the Tone Mob podcast as far as overall time recorded. And while I don't know if we quite got there, I haven't actually done the math yet to see if this was the longest one or not, but the main episode is a little bit longer than standard length, and then the Patreon episode is close to 2 hours. It's a deep one. We go all over the place, but this was an amazing session. I mean, she's one of my very favorite people to talk to, so I can't believe we got to do this again, and I can't believe we're kicking 2021 off with this episode. This is amazing. Another thing to note about this episode. So we had some extreme technical difficulties, not so much during the recording, although there were some issues there, but man, oh man, on the back end, trying to retrieve these files from the application I use. They recently did an update, and as with any update, things can go haywire, and we had to go into the back end of Yvette's computer. We had to go to the back end of my computer. We had to do some weird workarounds on the server that hosts the files while they're being recorded. It was a nightmare. It was a complete nightmare, but we did manage to salvage the entire session, and I'm so happy we did because this was such a great, extremely long recording session. So the main episode's great. The Patreon episode, honestly, is even better. And if you can, for just $5 a month, you get extra episodes streamed there to your ears every week. And this week is extremely good. So if you can, please support the show over there. And if you can't, I totally get it. Just please share this with a friend. And I want to give one more big shout out before we get into this to Nick Veland from Playback Engineering. You can hit him up on Instagram at Playback Engineering. He did a amazing job at stitching all this together and making it actually a show that you can listen to. We had to work really hard to gather all these files from these random places, which should not have happened, but such is technology. So I'm really glad that we got to get it out to you. I'm really glad that this is the first episode of 2021, and I'll shut up so that I can start talking again here in just a second, and I'm really excited about this episode. So please enjoy this episode with my pal, Yvette Young. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff, occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today I have returning in a more traditional format, my good friend, Yvette Young from Covet. What's going on?
Hey. It's good to be back.
Oh, man. I kind of wish we were recording in a van, though, to be totally honest.
Me too. I could put on my van simulation CD in the background.
Yeah.
To simulate the noise of being in the transient of a van.
Like that. In the back of the Hawthorne Theater. on a
Yes. Yeah, I think I have the one on file somewhere.
that is an episode I've always, since we recorded it and put it out there, I always tell people to go listen to that one when they're like, I don't know which episode to listen to. I'm like, that's one of my personal favorites just because it was such a weird night, and I don't know, felt like the conversation was real fun. And so I always point people to that one for like their first listen. I'm like, don't expect all the episodes to be this way, but this is one of my favorite episodes. So,
didn't we talk about pizza for like a good 15 minutes?
I mean, that is a recurring thing on the show, on the program. We talk about pizza at the end of every episode, and have since about 2015. So I don't think I've forgotten to ask about pizza yet. It's possible that there's one I've forgotten, but I think we make sure to squeeze in the pizza talk every single time, which is nice.
Mandatory.
Yes, it's required pizza conversation. Yeah, and we'll get into that. But I did want to ask you about something we were talking about off the air. And this is relevant to my interests. So you were talking about your Christmas day. I guess for all the listeners, we're recording this the day after Christmas. And you said you had a tradition of watching a horror movie every year. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it started with my cousin, Clara. Every Christmas when we were kids, we used to watch a movie, and then we ended up just gravitating towards horror movies all the time because I think we're just sick in the head. I'm just kidding. But,
I can relate.
Okay. Claire, if you're listening, sorry for speaking on your behalf. No, but we just, as kids, we just loved watching, I think we watched Silence of the Lambs one year, and then Mothman Prophecies or something. And then, so it just kind of became the thing we do every year. And now, even though I don't get to be with my cousin or my family, I have a lot of friends who are kind of horror buffs. So we watched I have every John Carpenter movie. I collect his movies because I think they're really funny and cool. We watched The Virus yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen that one. And then we watched some weird Netflix movie called The Perfection. And it was a total trip. I still don't know what I watched. It was weird. It involved amputees playing cello.
Okay. Oh.
And, just a lot of making out.
That sounds like, something that somebody would be into, I suppose.
It was very bizarre. It had my attention. I'll give it that. It held my attention.
Was it made by anyone that we would recognize, or is it one of those just what's this deep dive into the bowels of Netflix situation?
I think it had one actress from Hereditary or something.
Okay.
I think it was Hereditary, but it was, I don't know who it was directed by. We just chose it because the plot sounded interesting, and then it ended up just being I remember we were just quiet, just staring at each other because we were so confused, what was going on. But yeah, Christmas horror.
I like
Gotta
it.
have it.
I like that. That's good stuff.
What's your favorite horror movie?
Oh, I was going to ask you the same thing. So, this just came up. A lot of the listeners know this, but you might not. I do the Chasing Tone podcast with Brian Wampler almost every week. And last week, we had an Ask Us Anything episode.
Mm.
And so we had a lot of off the wall questions, and yeah, we talked about horror movies and stuff. So some of this is kind of fresh in my brain, but as far as favorite of all time, that's really hard for me to do because I really like movies. And they change all the time. But the one that I reference that messed me up the most, that I still find to be the most unsettling movie I've ever seen, was called Martyrs.
Someone told me about that, but do go on.
Yeah, there's two versions. I heard the American version wasn't very good. I've never watched that one, but the French version, the original version, it starts out as just kind of a somewhat simple revenge thriller, and then it takes a hard right turn and does a U-turn and is like, oh, this is so unsettling. And it's, I don't want to spoiler it for anybody that's going to watch it, but I will say, like, I watched it this will give you an idea of the time frame. A long time ago, there was this place called Blockbuster Video.
I remember Blockbuster.
And my wife, we hadn't been married very long, but this was the first time she like went out of town and left me to my own devices for a weekend. And she doesn't really like horror movies, so I was like, it's time to binge everything. And I went to the Blockbuster and asked the guy working there, I'm like, what are some of the best horror movies that you've seen lately? It's been a long time. And that was one he kind of like recommended, but I don't think he properly prepared me for it, because I got like that and like Cabin in the Woods, which is more of a horror comedy. And then
that was a trip, Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, that one's great too. And just a bunch of others that are not on that level of intensity. And so I was like, all right, let's see what Martyrs is about. And I got done watching it and I was like, what just happened to my brain? And then I sent it to one of my good friends, Joshua, who he's also likes horror movies kind of in the same way that I do. And he texted me back. He's like, I can't believe you made me watch that.
Oh my gosh. While we're on this, I can't believe you made me watch that. Have you watched the movie Tusk?
I've heard about it. I started watching it and I got sidetracked and I didn't actually get into the meat and potatoes of it. But
all right,
crazy.
It's one of the most bizarre, unsettling things that I feel like I've seen in my adult life. Yeah, it was really weird. I like
right?
Yeah, you know the premise, right?
I'm trying to remember because it's been a couple years, I think, since I got started on it. And like I said, I just barely dipped the toes into it. Seems like the thing I remember really sticking out to me is like the guy was like a podcaster. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. What's this? And he was like a jerk. So hopefully I don't relate too much to him.
Yeah, basically, I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the premise is a podcaster like needs a place to stay. And then he gets promised that he can stay somewhere for free as long as he listens to this guy tell stories every night. And the guy ends up being like a sailor or captain or something that like, I guess a long time ago, he almost drowned and his life was saved by a walrus. But then
yes.
He was stuck with this walrus on an island and unfortunately had to eat the walrus to survive, which is honestly, that's the true horror for me, is like, how could you do that? But yeah, I guess then he vows his entire life to like make it right to the walrus.
I actually, now that you've said this, and I'm not going to say too much about it in case anybody wants to watch it. I actually did get further into this movie, and I remember what happens now.
Yeah,
and it's
you repressed it.
Yeah,
you repressed it from your memory.
I did. My brain didn't want to remember it. And now that I do, I'm like, ooh, that's rough. That's not a good situation for anyone to be in. Oh man, I had totally forgotten. I did get into this movie.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry for just bringing you back to that dark place.
It's okay. I'm okay. Like again, because like Martyrs is kind of my level, and it's a little bit worse if you can.
All right.
So.
Okay. I'm down. I'm going to check it out as per your recommendation.
It's definitely a trigger warning type of movie in general, just for anyone. But if you're a horror buff, you'll probably be okay.
I'm down. You know what's crazy is I noticed that like when I was younger, I had like more of a tolerance for just crazy gore and like just like shock, like horror stuff. And I would actively seek it out almost in the same way that I would seek out like riding a roller coaster or something. Like to me, it was like an adrenaline rush. But I just noticed that as I get older and age, as I decay, I just can't handle as much. I think it's like life, it just gets hard and it's just like true life becomes horror and you're just like, I just want to watch something comfortable.
I don't know. For me, I feel like it actually I did the same thing, I should say. And, you know, I kind of think back to some of the movies I was allowed to watch at a fairly young age. And I'm like, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do the same thing. for my kids. My parents were like protective, and they let me, they didn't like let me watch anything, right? But then some of the like select ones I do remember watching for like family pizza night, like Saw. I was like,
what?
I was like, maybe we shouldn't have watched Saw quite that young, because I think it kind of steered over my my nerves a little bit. I'm a little bit numb to that extreme stuff. It doesn't really that much. I never.
I feel like I just got like recently like super sensitive to it because I'm just like, it's like all of a sudden I just empathize too much, and I'm just like, oh, like that's actually horrible. Like this actually happens. Like I don't know, like torture scenes I can't do them. Scenes where you dig your thumbs into someone's eye sockets, I cannot handle. I can't look. It's bad.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about Martyrs off the air then.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
There's definitely some elements of that. It's not the goriest thing I've ever seen. There's a really intense scene at the end that's pretty rough, but it's definitely not like Saw levels of splatter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's almost what you hear more than anything else.
Ugh.
Go,
Imagine the dude who had to do Foley for it. Like he's just sitting there with a bunch of pasta, just like massaging it with his fingers, and like I just love to see what's going on with the guy who's
slapping the pasta.
He's slapping the pasta. He's got a slab of meat, just like a raw steak.
Yeah, he's just doing what, that scene out of Rocky where he's just pounding the hanging cows in the freezer just repeatedly.
Oh my gosh. And he doubles as like an adult film Foley guy as well.
Oh
so
no.
He can like do both of the sounds like apply.
Oh no. Bad imagery.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say one more thing. The one hyper gory movie that I do really love, like I'm into like usually psychological thrillers, or like I really enjoy alien films as well. But one movie I absolutely love that's super campy, that's actually a newer one, is Turbo Kid. I don't really think it's horror, but it's got like a lot of gore. It's kind of like got like an indie movie vibe, and it's set in the post-apocalyptic 80s, and the soundtrack is amazing because it's all synthwave. So, yeah. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, never heard of it.
Oh, check it out. It's so charming. It made me cry.
Gore and cry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's like sweet. It's like the juxtaposition of like this like tender, like sweet, loyal relationship this boy has with a robot, and then like just like everyone around them is getting their limbs chopped off and hand put in a blender. That's life. That's
that's life. That's life in a nutshell.
That's life. Oh yeah.
Well, before we go too far away from this particular subject, speaking of juxtapositions, like I thought that Midsommar was, I know that movie's been really hyped, and I understand that might be overhyped for some people. But as far as juxtapositions go, it's one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. And
I loved it.
One of the ugliest movies I've ever seen at the same time, which is pretty hard to do, I think.
Yeah, I really do think that movie excelled at tension. I think just the silence was deafening at times. And I think just the fact even that it came out, like it's all daytime. It's all like beautiful, this idyllic daytime, forest scene, and then it's just so unsettling the entire time.
Yeah, it's like, since it's a horror movie, like if you went into it not really knowing what it was, you'd be like, oh, this is nice. I wonder what's going to happen. And then it happens. And it's like, oh, wow, okay. That's what we're dealing with. This is interesting. But horror movies, fun for the whole family. Oh, well, maybe not the whole family, but you know what I mean. Fun for messed up people like you and I.
Start them young.
I did expose my son to The Shining probably a little bit too early.
Oh my gosh. My mom made me go watch The Pianist when I was like 9 or something. And I remember she told me it was about a piano player, which wasn't a lie. Like, technically, yes, it is about Adrian Brody, who plays piano.
Technically.
But it was just like a full-on depressing Holocaust movie, and I remember I couldn't handle it. It was just so sad and so messed up. So I ended up just playing with my Game Boy. I think I was playing like Pokemon Crystal or something. I was playing Game Boy with my ears plugged, like crouched in fetal position in the corner of the theater because it was just too much.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one to watch at night. I mean, because that's not just, I guess that's not technically a horror movie, quote unquote, but it's real life. That's like real stuff that really happened type of horror, which is the worst.
I just remember thinking, how did people do this to each other as a 9-year-old?
Yeah.
It was like a big slap in the face, like reality, just like, life's hard.
I still think that, but now as an adult, I can see the progression, and it's like, oh no, this is what people are capable of. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like that.
People are capable. Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, people are capable of such beautiful things. Like, I think interpersonal, like, relationships between people, there's like so much beauty in that, but also we do like the most effed up things to each other.
Yeah, sometimes without meaning to. That's also like kind of scary, because some people you see, they have this really not great impact on those around them, and they're not even aware of it. They think that they're fine, and everyone's the good guy in their own story, and that's almost what makes it even scarier, because I try to be fairly self-aware, but then I catch myself at moments where I'm like, the one I bring up constantly, or not constantly, the one I regularly, is my wife revealed to me early on in our marriage that I was a close talker. I was a close talker for like a large part of my life, and I didn't even know it.
What does that mean?
Where you get way too close to somebody when you're talking to them.
Oh, like it feels like you're gonna like kiss them or something, but like really,
it wasn't quite that bad, but it was still like, why am I? When she pointed out, she's like, "You're a close talker," and then I've been really good about it ever since. I was like, "No, I'm not," and then she's like, "Yes, you are. Look how close you are." I was like, "Oh." I'm a close talker. That's not the worst thing a person can be. Well, maybe in 2020 it is, but it's not the worst thing a person can be. But it's like, just shows how the most obvious thing that you should have been able to notice about yourself, it was totally over my head. I had no idea I was doing that. I knew when other people would do it to me, but I didn't recognize that I did it semi-regularly. And I think I've broken myself of that. But it's a less serious, but like really obvious like problem that I had. It's like, oh, okay. What other problems do I have?
Oh, I feel like we're all full of problems.
Humanity, right?
Yeah. I don't think that's the worst thing you can be. At least it's not like harmful. You know,
No.
like at least you're not like, I don't know, maybe it's only harmful if you're like spreading disease or something.
That's what I said in 2020. That might not be a good trait to have. But let's see. Let's catch up a little bit on some other things. Like, you've had so many things happen since we last talked. I mean, what was that? I don't even know. I should have looked at the date before we started recording this, but I feel like that was like 2 years ago almost.
Yeah, I think it was before we had our new album. It was before COVID, of course. So, yeah, I guess it's been a whirlwind. Sometimes do you ever just forget everything that you've done?
Yeah.
I feel like I get there all the time. I'm just like, what did I do like a month ago? What was I doing?
Okay, so I just had to check real quick. It wasn't quite that long ago, but it feels like that long ago. That was October of 2019.
Wow.
So, or at least when I published it, and I think I published it fairly close to the recording. Yeah, that feels like a different time and place. So strange.
Definitely. I guess, yeah, since then, touring's been canceled. Album out. What else? I learned how to like properly record, which is cool. I taught myself that at the beginning of quarantine, which is fun. Yeah.
Signature guitar. That wasn't.
Right. True. Yes.
So, I mean, you talked very, very kindly about your Ibanez when we last recorded, but now it's like I'm sure you were probably working on it at the time, but now it's like official.
Yeah, it's so wild.
Weird? Or is it like, what's that feel like?
It's wild. I'm just like, I can't believe that, like, it sounds funny, but I'm like, I can't believe a company put like that much faith in me. But like, yeah, it's cool. The release of it was a little bit delayed because of, everything going on, but now that it's out, it's just really awesome seeing people actually playing it, like writing music on it, and I'm just so grateful. I think we're trying to come out with a different color next year. Well, different guitar, different color. Ooh.
Different guitar.
Like I mean, same guitar, Talman, but like maybe we're gonna do a Tele version. I don't know. Maybe.
You have my interest there.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I wasn't already interested, but I'm a little more of a Tele person than a Strat person. So,
well, we got just the guitar for you. I got Telecasters. I got Stratocaster. Sorry, I'm just trying to be like a sales dude or salesperson.
This bad boy can fit so many Telecaster tones. Slap good. That reminds me, before I forget and we go way off into the weeds, I did tell the Facebook group that you were coming back on.
Ooh.
Let's see what people had for questions. Because I know there was something about the guitar in there. Where is it? Oh, well, this isn't necessarily a question, but good longtime supporter of the show, Tom Kelly. He wants to say, commend her for choosing the best color ever, green, for her signature Ibanez. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way real quick.
Oh, thank you, Tom Kelly. That color is so polarizing. I love it. Some people are like, I love that color and need that color. Some people are like, that is the most hideous guitar I've ever seen in my life.
I love it.
And yeah, I love it too. It reminds me of like Slime Time Live. Yes. Watching Nickelodeon Slime Time Live. So for me, it's got this like nostalgic, like candy looking feeling to it. But I do see how someone who's like only into like spalted maple or something would just like hate what I did. But it's cool, like it's not for everyone. And yeah, it's just funny to see how polarizing it is.
Let's see. There's a lot of reoccurring, just like, I don't have any questions. Or let's see. I can Todd Menhinnick, and I can never tell if I'm saying his name right. I think he's told me before, but apologies, Todd. So here we go. This probably sums up a good portion of what the group was saying. Not a question, but I think she's amazing. 2020 has made me appreciate those things that give us a spark of joy. Listening to Technicolor more times than I can count has been one of those things. Yvette's music has made a difference to me this year, and I just want to thank her for that. And there's a lot of similar things in there. I just thought that one summed it up quite nicely. So
that's so sweet. Oh, thanks everyone. Like really, that it means a lot because we definitely poured a lot of love into the songs, and I wasn't doing great when I was writing them, and I tried to write music that like uplifted me. So to hear that it like can help other people, especially during this really difficult year of loss and change and just uncertainty. Mm-hmm. I think that means a lot to me. So I think music is so powerful in its way. It can like transform people's moods. So I'm just really happy that it did that for people.
Yeah, for myself, it's a lot easier to dig into like the darker kind of more upsetting parts of life to create what I would consider quote unquote, serious pieces of music. It's actually a lot harder for me to come up with something that is bright and cheerful or, even uplifting without it feeling to myself like it's kind of cheeseball. And I think you've done an amazing job of not doing that with that record. Personally, that's my opinion.
Thank you.
I can see why people thought that. Let's see. We've got a few more questions in here. Well, you kind of touched on this earlier about teaching yourself recording. So Travis Vandell, he says, I want to know how quarantine has changed your approach to music.
Well, for the first time, I think, how lost in the sauce can I get here?
Lost if you want.
All right, I'll here I go. I think before quarantine, I was on such a tight schedule. Like, I'm just juggling a lot of things all at once constantly. And I didn't really ever have a time to like chill out and write music just for the sake of exploration. And because I was on such a firm schedule and people depended on me to meet deadlines, and I had to like deliver a certain amount of songs by a certain amount of time. I feel like, exploration wasn't really a part of my musical vocabulary. I was just writing for the sake of being efficient and productive. I think when you have deadlines and stuff, like kind of just playing for fun becomes a luxury, because you just have to like utilize every minute of your day to like make sure you deliver an album on time or something. So I remember after we finished Technicolor and everything got canceled, all of a sudden I was like, wait, so I'm not going on tour, so I can just like play, like write music for fun, like, and not be on a deadline. So I started like exploring a lot and kind of just branching out my sound a bit. I always want to do something different with every release. So the next one for sure is different, leaning way more into like that kind of almost cheesy, like uplifting chorus, like 80s sound, but also like going into like sludge fuzz world a bunch too, because I love a lot of like post metal and like grunge sounding things. But yeah, there's that. So I feel like my relationship with music definitely improved because I was just writing for fun and inspiration hit. And I was just vomiting out song ideas every day, which was really cool. But things got really busy again. I feel like there was like a little window of time where it was just like, hurrah, I don't have anything to do. I can just play for fun again. But then, companies started adapting to online content, and then like everyone started hiring, which is great. Like, I'm so grateful that like I got hired to do a bunch of online stuff, but it was funny. I just enjoyed a brief period of time where it was just a free for all. And then I taught myself how to record. So I'm now like, I have a folder of just covet song ideas, and I plan to just record all the demos in advance and send them to my bandmates so we don't have to meet, because it's kind of a weird time for that. And then also just like, I feel like I really developed my ear a lot more for just tones and even production stuff, because I started learning some really rudimentary, and I cannot stress this enough, just super rudimentary production tricks. And just from like Googling and also asking friends. And that's been a huge game changer for me too. I feel like I now have an even deeper appreciation for certain tones and stuff. Yeah, I guess those are the main ways that my relationship with music has changed.
Hearing you say all of that is really interesting, because I've had the exact opposite experience. Which is, my whole life, except for like this one brief time when my band and we wrote a record in 2014, 2015. Other than that period of my life, it's been nothing but like just noodling and experimenting sonically and getting lost in waves of bleep bloop machines and all kinds of different like things. And I've really changed as a player in that time frame. But I've also, like, my output as far as music was basically, as far as recorded music, was basically zero. I've done like maybe a couple songs. I recorded one here like 3 weeks ago and put it out on YouTube. But like, other than that, I really haven't put out anything. But yet I've said this on the podcast a few times lately, but like 14-year-old me would want to like put me in a headlock and punch me in the face, because like he could only dream of having access to all the rad stuff that I have. and like would want to actually record and make music with it, you know? But here I am just like kind of by myself at midnight going, wee doo 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 doo. And like, why? It's like, why am I not making this stuff? And then I recorded, you know, and I've been really talking to my friend, Devon Blue, who I don't know if you've seen his demos, but he has an awesome band called Boy Indigo, and he's crazy, awesome dude. But he's like repeatedly has like made the statement that like, if you can create stuff, if you have the ability to do this, then you almost have a responsibility to put some of it out there, because so many people can't. Like, so there's a bunch of people who just, they love music, but they can't necessarily play and don't have the time or interest to learn how to play, or, you know, for whatever reason, their circumstances dictate that they can't do these things. And if you can and you're not, then it's almost like you're kind of throwing it away. And so lately I've been like really starting to just pursue the idea of like, okay, I'm not just going to like show off how this pedal sounds. I don't care. Like, there's plenty of people that do that, and I will continue to do that occasionally, but I just need to make music to make music, not for any other reason, not to like show off the device or the guitar, just to make music. And so, yeah, that's been my mindset lately.
The cool thing is you can still show off a pedal, but like just write a coherent musical idea with it, and then it can be a song as well. Like, that's how a lot of my songs happen. Is I like, let's say somebody sends me, I don't know, like I just did a echo shifter demo for Ibanez, and I remember I intended to just do a bunch of riffs to like showcase the pedal, but I ended up writing a song with like a couple of songs with the riffs that I wrote on it. So sometimes I feel like certain pedals, just the timbre or like the color of the pedal can inspire like a totally new musical idea. I did a couple of fuzz demos, and I was like, whoa, I'm like writing stuff that I like would never write if I wasn't plugged into a fuzz pedal. So it's cool. It can like push different ideas out of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just this mindset shift that I've had to have, where it's just like, okay, like you said, try to make a coherent piece of music while you're doing it. Because normally it's just like open chords, here's what it sounds like, a do, you know, like, which is fine, and it gets the point across for hearing what the device is doing, but doesn't get my juices going, you know.
I think some people struggle, like what I've seen doing pedal demos is some people struggle to hear like what a pedal can do in the right context. I think sometimes context is everything, because you can hear like a crazy texture, but then for some people, I think it's difficult to imagine how it can be applied in a practical sense. And I think for some people, when watching a demo or something, the allure of the pedal comes from like being inspired by the musical idea created with it. And then they're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know that you could like use like a stuttery delay thing as like a space holder or something, or like, you know, it's like, oh, that's really creative. Like I never thought to do that. I want to buy this pedal so I can try that out in my songwriting. So it's really cool. It's fun.
Has there been, you mentioned the echo shifter, but has there been anything else that's come along this year and like really made you go, ooh? Gosh,
I just bought a Digitech Freakout. Oh, yes. And it's lovely. It's so cool. I didn't realize that you could just completely take out the dry signal so that it sounds like an EBO, like slides on that thing. Sounds so amazing. I like already want to do it I think on acoustic it could sound beautiful too. It can add like a bit of like really cool, a trail to every note you play. And then just, it's really awesome so you can control the pitch of the feedback as well. And I've been having a lot of fun with that. Shout out Pete Thorne for turning me on to this pedal. He told me I needed to get one, so I'm glad I listened to him.
It's so much fun. I got one as a gift, and I like did a little gift exchange, and I'm like, oh, this thing looks cool. Plugged it in. I was like, oh my, I didn't know how cool it was.
It's so awesome. It's truly amazing. What else? I have a lot of pedals that I still have to demo. I've just been kind of busy, but I got a slow while we're slow. Amazing. I got sent the Juliana which is their stereo version of the Julia, and it's also beautiful. I've been really enjoying that one. Of course, this pedal is amazing. I can't believe it's technically a delay, but it's the Slowly Melting by Dirge Electronics.
Oh, I don't know about that one. Tell me more.
Oh, it's so cool. I guess, like, okay, I don't want to sound like an idiot, but apparently it sounds like a fuzz, but it's technically not a fuzz. Like, I think the circuit is technically like it's like a glitched out delay.
Okay.
And yeah, it sounds like, it sounds like, to me, when I plugged in, it sounds like a rocket taking off. To me, like the rumble, and it's like hella like fuzzy sounding, dark. But it's also very versatile. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to sound just like a fuzz. But yeah, it's great. You know what really astounded me about this pedal? I think maybe because it's technically a delay. I really hope I'm getting that right. I hope Evan isn't listening like, no, you idiot. But yeah, anyway, what's cool is it's like, you know how some fuzzes, like, I feel like when you plug in, you lose a lot of clarity, and like almost like attack like is gone. It's just kind of muddy.
Yeah.
So I feel like with this pedal, somehow, like, it's so clear. There's so much presence in each note, and it's so defined despite being encased in like a cloud of fuzziness. It's not a fuzz pedal. It sounds like one.
Right. So bad.
Give it a go. I'll send you my demo after this.
Oh, dude. Yes. I got to check that out. That sounds like all kinds of my business.
Yeah. And also shout out Evan to being a superb human. He's had a wild year as well. And I just think he's great. So
might have to get in touch with him, get him on the program.
You should. Oh my God, he could give you such a better rundown of what I just said. Be like, yeah, that girl was wrong. She didn't know what she was talking about. Like,
oh yeah, I almost forgot I was reading group questions and I was just asking my own instead. I still got a few more in here. So
go for it.
Oh yeah. Oh well, you remember Jess? He was in the van with us during that interview. He says hi, but then he also brought up something he saw on one of your stories here a few days ago, I guess. It says cool bug facts. The fact that Yvette Young is actually 3 ducks in a trench coat, and I would like you to address that allegation here on the air. You are 3 ducks in a trench coat. We failed to notice this, and so we're all very confused.
Everything you heard about me online is true. Everything, every single thing you read in every forum, in every comment section on YouTube.
Okay.
All the speculation, all of it is true.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff to absorb. A lot of it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, even if it's contradicting, like even if you read 2 pieces of information about me and my personal life that contradict each other, the answer is both. Both are true.
Right. Of course they are.
Yeah.
Of course they are. That just makes all the sense in the world.
And secondly, I would like to address that allegation by saying quack, 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 quack.
It's true, everyone. We've established it. She is trench coat. Okay, and talking about birds, this actually this goes right along. Jason Fuzzmonger, good pal. He asks, how do her birds react to her playing in the house? When I had one, she would always try to sing along or back to me.
My birds. So I had a little parrotlet that I really loved. Caspian, that was her name. She had good taste. Like whenever I wrote a riff and it was like actually like something I feel like I could potentially turn into a song, she would like sing along with it and like harmonize. And it's like when I wasn't writing anything interesting, she would just be quiet. So she was kind of like my muse. My hens, it's so funny because I try to record at home, but sometimes I have a Gende conure. I don't know if you guys know much about those birds, but they're so loud. Like
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're beautiful creatures, but they're just so loud. Just screaming is their favorite activity. So yeah, sometimes in my recordings, I'll just get like him screaming in the background or like my chickens just clucking away or my duck. But it's cool. It's like texture, right?
That's right.
I'm just going to go and isolate the exact frequency of like the quack, and I'm just going to like go ahead and EQ that out.
You need to get the bird scream though, and like really get a real aggressive metalcore track out of it or something.
Yeah, maybe I could sample it. Maybe I could like slow it down a lot and just use it as just like one continuous pad like throughout the entire song.
Just drench it in distortion and see what happens.
Yeah, I'll just put it through the slowly melting.
There you go. That sounds like a good plan.
Oh, I got it. So I'll put a mic to my bird, and then I'll put the mic through the freak out pedal, and then just have it set to just 100% wet.
There you
so
go.
That it's just going to be like the feedback, like really, really dramatically swelling. There we go.
I love it.
Perfect.
All right, let me see if we got any more in here. What? Okay, I don't understand that. Okay.
And now I want to know.
Well, of course, it's Ryan Burke from the guitar, YouTube, and podcast conglomerate, we'll call it, a 60 Cycle Hum. He says, ask her what her least favorite sea mammal is.
Sea mammal?
Least favorite sea mammal.
Probably otters, because they systematically rape other animals.
Oh, well, yeah, that doesn't sound like a good thing. I didn't know that.
They actually are so heinous. Like they like gang up on dolphins, and they'll like hold it down and like just go at it. It's really awful.
Well, that's going to be interesting in their group, because this in the 60 we both have our own guitar podcast Facebook groups, the 60 Cycle Hum Facebook group, and now maybe he knew you were going to say that, because they have a tradition known as Otter Day.
Oh no!
And it occurs because I can't remember what the circumstances were, but there was like a person, like, I can't remember. This is like 3 or 4 years ago. For some reason, there was like a troll in there, and something happened. And people are probably like, I can't believe you don't remember the origins of Otter Day. But I don't. I'm sorry. So for an entire day every year, they post nothing but pictures of sea otters.
Oh, so they're just glorifying a rapist, I see. Just kidding.
Well, not many people know about that, but maybe that's why he asked that question.
I'll link you an article afterwards. It's like from the Monterey Bay Aquarium. They also are necrophiliac, so even once one of their otters, friends, or a dolphin or something is deceased, like they still find their way.
No,
yeah.
I don't like otters anymore.
I mean, they're cute. I'll give them that. Nature's brutal, man. Nature is just brutal. Can I really quick tell you a funny story that happened to me recently at a tide pool?
I think you have to. Okay.
I know this is a huge tangent, but like, it's just, nature is brutal. It supports my thesis statement. I was at this beautiful beach, and I found this starfish that had washed ashore, and there's just one. And I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. I've like never seen one just wash up the shore. So I picked it up, and it like hugged me, like its little feet, like suddenly I was like, it's still alive. Wow. Cause it like grabbed me immediately. And I was like, all right, I have to save it because I have to put it back into the water. And so there's a bunch of tide pools around the corner. So I climbed through these like crazy slippery rocks to get to this like one safe little pool where I felt like no one could attack it, or it wouldn't be washed ashore again. And I just like slipped it into the pool, and I even like filmed it like, goodbye starfish. And it like kind of like crawled away with its little legs, and it like latched onto a rock. And then immediately, as soon as I turned around, I walked like 10 feet away, climbed over some rocks again. I just see a seagull swoop down and grab the starfish that I just saved. And then I see it just completely just swallow it whole, no chewing, just like, I watch it just like shaking its gullet, just trying to get this huge starfish down its throat. And you see the legs like poking out of the side of the seagull's neck. It was like a cartoon. And I was just like, no, like I just went through so much trouble to like, I even reassured the starfish that it was like, okay. And then just a seagull swoops up and just eats it whole.
And
So.
he's going down. He's like, that lady lied to me. Lied. Lied.
That was the last thought that the starfish had was, what a liar. What a lying B word.
I can't believe this. This is happening to me right now. She assured me that it was going to be okay.
Yeah, she like verbally reassured me. I let my guard down, and now I'm being swallowed whole by a seagull.
Right. She probably does this to all the starfish she sees.
Yeah, it just sends out a message. Nobody trusts this girl.
Oh, yeah. That, I don't know if you might follow this account. It's pretty well known, but it's called Nature is Metal on Instagram. And it's just nothing but that. It's just all of that all the time. And it's like, wow, we have it good. We got it good compared to like a deer. Like, we're doing great. For all of our faults and all of the problems that we have, I'd way rather be me than pretty much any animal.
That's starfish.
Yeah, than that starfish for sure. For sure.
Yeah, it just really bothered me. Like, I thought about it the whole day. I was like, I guess that's life. Sometimes you put all your effort into like making something work out and you want the best for something, but then,
A seagull happens.
A seagull happens. Things out of control. Things out of your control ruin everything. I couldn't control that seagull.
That sounds like a t-shirt waiting to happen. Seagull happens and just has that bird on it, just looking.
With like it was comical. Like the 5 legs of I think there were 5 legs. The legs of the starfish were just poking out of its neck. Like it didn't even bother to like chew it. Just complete. I don't know how it's gonna fit in the seagull.
It sounds like a scene out of like a Wes Anderson movie. It really does.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed at the fact that seagull could just swallow it and still breathe.
Seagulls are weird, man. I've seen them eat so many things. Like, why are you... Okay, well, that was a trash bag, but all right, I guess.
They're really brave. They're so brave. I feel like they just become increasingly more like just prone to risk taking. Like I remember I was sitting in my car with a sandwich a long time ago, and the seagull just landed on my windowsill and then just like came into the car and took my sandwich from my hands.
It's like, well, huh. And I fed you a starfish and everything.
Yeah, I know, right? You bastard.
How dare you? All right, let's see. I think we're almost to... Oh, here's we're getting close to... we've got like 3 more questions here from the group, and then we will divert and go off into the woods.
Perfect.
Corey MacArthur, has she ever played slide?
I have not. I'd love to, though. I want to do everything one day.
I'd be really curious to hear what you would do on slide. I think that would be an interesting juxtaposition from the tappy stuff. I wonder what that would sound like.
Yeah. I think actually, you know what? I've tried it. It was really beautiful. I feel like I'd be really interested to like record with it. It sounds so beautiful with like reverb.
Yes, definitely. I'm just getting to where I'm like, okay, I can start to figure this out. It was really a challenge for me because it's such a different thing. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable. Let's see. Sonia Leaf, another big supporter of the show. What is her favorite reverb? And she goes on to say, and why is it the Mercury 7 or CXM 1978? But
that's hilarious. It is the Mercury 7. That's so funny.
There you go.
Good one. No, it's amazing. I just think that reverb has so much like color and character to it, and I just like the pitch vector features. I will say the slow is like a close second though. Like the slow is so beautiful. But yeah, I've gotten so much mileage out of that Mercury 7. I've got it to, I used it like almost as a pad on the last record. I used the plummeting octave down pitch vector or not octave down, sorry, it just goes down like infinitely as like ways to fill up space and create like tension. The 5th one is really beautiful. I hold the sustain feature a lot, like live, just to create like ambiance as well. And sometimes it feeds back really beautifully as well. it's just great. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten a lot of use out of it. Different uses out of it.
Very cool. I wasn't sure if she was saying that just to say it because she really likes those pedals, or if she had some insider info. But it looks like she'd been paying attention, which isn't too.
Yeah, either that or she has a great taste as well.
She does. Plugged her band, lunch.band, for everyone. Go to lunch.band to check out her stuff.
Hell yeah.
It's really cool. And she also went on to say her playing has been so inspirational, and her signature guitar is on my Christmas list, because I asked this a few days before Christmas. So,
oh, what?
There you go.
Thank you.
What do we got? I'm scrolling back and forth here, making sure I covered everything that makes sense to cover, because some people just like to horse around and have fun, like with the sea mammals. Oh, yeah. Okay. Nick Scott. He wants to know, how does she always seem so happy? I've never seen her anything other than bouncing off the walls level cheerful. Maybe that's something we could all benefit from there.
Oh, man. He should have seen me last year. I was so bummed.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I wrote Technicolor crying into my guitar. Like, I was not down to write. I was going through a really rough thing. And like I said, I tried to write the music that I wish I could feel. And sometimes, that expression, you got to fake it to make it. I feel like guitar music, it's one of those things where it can really transform my mood. Like, I can be so depressed and dejected sitting down, and then I'll like find a cool tone, and I'll write like a pretty melody, and it'll just like soothe me. And then pretty soon I'm like dancing around, like stoked on a melody that I found. So yeah, I think the reason I look so happy is because I am doing something I legitimately love. Like, I'm so passionate about it. If I didn't have any eyes on me, I would still be doing it, because it just, to me, feels like falling in love. Like I get a high from it. So I think that's why I look so stoked. But also, I feel like, someone asked me that same question in my comment section recently, and I do feel like my optimism has emerged as like a form of like a way to survive, because just my personal stance on things, like, you can't control what happens around you. You can't control what's going on in the world or what other people do to you, but you can control like your perspective about it and how you choose to react and what you choose to do with the hardships that you're faced with. And for me, it's always been more productive for me to not let it bog me down and to just keep on flowing forward and try to turn pain into something productive. So maybe it's because I'm a control freak, and to me, I feel like then I have control over my problems and whatever. But yeah, that's my perspective, is life sucks. It's hard. But like, if I'm happy and if I try to find the silver lining in everything, at least I still want to wake up every day,
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said what you said there, because I think a lot of people do struggle with this. I think probably everyone struggles with it from time to time. It's just like, your perspective, it sounds cheesy, but your perspective really can change your reality.
Mm-hmm.
If your perspective is that everything and like just completely sucks all the time, then it doesn't matter how great your life is going, it will suck.
Yeah.
It's just, it's really strange how much we actually do have control. You don't have control over, whether the seagull's eating you or not necessarily, but you do have control over your thought process and what's going on, and also the steps that you're taking to try to change your particular situation. And I think it's healthier to say, like, this isn't that great right now, but I'm making moves to try to make improvements for myself or whatever the situation may be. And I think it's a really healthy and positive way to look at things.
All you have is faith in something, like, to keep you going, I feel like it's dangerous if people get in some really dark places when they lose faith in, like, I don't know, it can be faith in anything, faith in themselves, faith in another person, faith in purpose. I think you just have to like have something that you're working towards, and all you can control is your perspective. That's the only thing you have control over. Everything else is just, life feels like constantly being assaulted, like by like different hardships and like obstacles, and it gets tiring. Like I've definitely been like, I'm tired. So I think like also what I put online is like, because I'm also like, I have a platform where people are like watching my every move. I don't like to broadcast things that are too negative, like, because I don't think that really benefits anyone else.
Right.
I can deal with my hardships on my own, of course, but I think I'd rather put out like positivity into the world and give other people tips on like how they can deal with hardship, and also how powerful of a tool and outlet music and art can be for dealing with those hardships.
I mean, that's sort of, it's not exactly the same thing, but that's definitely the road I've tried to take with this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't like. You know, we all have our preferences, and we all have things we like and things we really, really dislike. And I don't get me wrong, I will go off on an occasional rant about the Doors and how I'm not a big fan. But like, it doesn't necessarily mean that like I'm correct in that. And I also don't want people to, you know, there are YouTube channels and podcasts and stuff that are largely just rant shows. And I don't think that really does a lot of good. You know, it doesn't seem to offer a lot. And it's like, okay, you're mad about that. That's fine.
I think that attitude can get really difficult to be around, like, for a long time. Like, it's really funny to just go off sometimes. Like, I definitely do for some things, but I think it just gets tiring to hear all the time.
Yeah. We all have that one person in our life that's very opinionated for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what is this based upon? You don't actually know what you're talking about. And I think that goes back to that perspective thing. It's like, I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about all the time.
Yo, real talk, like, the older I get, the more I just want to be quiet about things and listen, because I don't know anything. Like, I feel like the older I get, it just, like, the veil is lifted. I'm like, I'm an ignorant person, and I just should listen, like, gather other perspectives, and maybe take time to develop an opinion before I'm so, like, you know, vehemently anti something. I don't know.
Right. I mean, there's like definitely things we can all firmly, you know, have a stance on, and that are objectively what they are.
Like otters and their
That's right.
proclivity for rape.
Yes. That's pretty not okay, I think, by any stretch of the imagination. Dirty otters. I have a different opinion on otters. See, my opinion on otters changed today. Who'd have thought that was going to be the course of this conversation? Not me.
Right. That was my goal today. We were not going to talk about music or tone. I was just trying to convince you to hate otters.
You did it. You went. You've made the most convincing argument that I could possibly think of. That's. I never know what's going to happen on this show. That's what makes it so much fun.
There's somewhere in the world you have like one otter fan who's like listening to your show, and the otter's just like super bummed out. Like, come on, why'd you do me dirty like that?
Right? He's like, I'm not like the rest of us. Okay, yeah. I'm different. I'm a different kind of otter. I'm a nice otter. I only eat seaweed.
I've never raped anything in my life.
Oh man, it's rough. It's rough out there. Well, let's see. We're right around that hour mark, and I know we're going to attempt to have the world's longest podcast for the patrons, which should be a lot of fun. But before we dive off the main episode, one thing I don't think I let you do, maybe I did, I can't remember, but one thing I don't think I let you do on the last episode, which has been kind of a mainstay of the show now, is like, this is your chance to put up a billboard. You want to tell a few thousand people something, whether it's a plug, whether it's a message, whether it's the fact that you love your cousin. I don't know. Whatever it is, whatever you want to say, now's the time.
I do love my cousin. I feel like I got out a lot of what I wanted to say in that question about how I stay so positive. Like, definitely. It's been a rough year for everyone. I think we all learned that in the end, nature wins. I think that's the theme of this podcast today is we can spend all our lives preparing, beating deadlines, delivering records, planning tours, but a pandemic will just wipe that all away. And I think it's making us all evaluate like what's important in life, you know? It's like humbling for sure. I think I don't really have anything to plug. I am working on music, but I don't have like a strict deadline for it. And I'm trying to like bust out another acoustic record. But it's so funny because I haven't had time to do it. Just want to say, hang in there. I hope everyone is just doing mentally okay, because I know being shut in and all the turbulent things going on have definitely taken a toll on a lot of people's mental health. And I want to say, keep on trying to write music and play music, because it definitely is a form of escapism for me and it's helped me a lot.
Well, I think that is as good of a message as you could possibly leave off on. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Let's see. Last classic questions, and we'll see. I know we've already talked pizza before, but we'll get into that in just a second. I can't remember if I asked you, though, because a lot of this runs together in my brain after a while, and I'm like, who said that? I don't remember. But did I ask you what your favorite Boss pedal was?
Metal Zone. No, actually, I really want to get a Metal Zone though. Like, I like what's that one? The chorus CE2. Is that one?
CE2. Oh, it's a classic. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that one. Love it. Let me think. Oh, I really want to try their new. I think it's an octave pedal.
Oh yeah. Yep.
The OC5. Yeah, I want one. Looks sick. Sophie Burrell, she's a guitarist. She did a cool demo of it.
Oh, I'll have to check it out. I know her, but I've not seen that demo.
Yeah, she's like thrashing around in her room, rock and roll. It's pretty sick.
I love it. It's awesome. All right, final question, and I'll be curious to hear if the 2020 has had an impact on your pizza tastes. You still sticking with it, or you changed your opinion on things?
I've done a lot of spicing up frozen pizza. My mom, I live with my parents currently, and we've done a lot of pizza nights where she just takes frozen pizza and we just try to make it fun with like chopped veggies or I don't know, nails. Just nails, just bolts and screws. I'm just kidding.
Well, you need your iron.
Yeah.
Healthy. Yeah, it's good for you.
Yeah, crushed Advil instead of Parmesan. That's pretty great. I'm just kidding. It's terrible.
All right, crushed Advil. That's great.
Yeah, awful. No, I've eaten a lot of frozen pizza this quarantine. I also learned how to make quiche and pot pie, and I'm pretty stoked on that.
Quiche. Hook me up with a good quiche. I love
quiche is so good. Honestly, store-bought pie crust and just whip up some eggs with some heavy cream and just chop up some broccoli, some mushrooms, jalapenos, and then just put a lot of cheddar in it, like sharp cheddar, and just pop that bad boy into the oven, and it's so easy.
You are speaking my language. That sounds
so easy, even I could do it.
That's not a good example. You do a lot of hard things. I've seen it. I've seen it in person. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad we were able to do this, and I'm excited to see what happens when we dive into the Patreon section and talk about aliens. I'm very excited.
Me too. I can't wait.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody. For Yvette, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right, there you have it, folks. We have wrapped up officially the first Tone Mob episode of 2021, and we're going to have a lot more in store for you this year. I'm very excited to bring this all to you, and yeah, I don't know what it is, and I know everyone's saying this, and I know it's cheeseball and it's stupid, but I feel like something cool is on the horizon this year. There almost has to be, right? Surely. Either way, thank you all so much. And I said this on the last episode, but thank you all so much for supporting me this year and getting me through 2020 despite the fires and all the craziness that happened. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that you're still listening to this right now. So thank you very much. If you really enjoyed this episode, if this tickled your fancy, we've got more for you. You go to patreon.com/tonemob. There's almost 2 hours more of this very conversation, and it was a lot of fun. So if you can, that's there. If you can't, there is a ton in the back catalog. And also, I would appreciate just sharing this with a friend, hitting us up with a rating, doing your gear shopping at tonemob.com/reverb or tonemob.com/sweetwater. That really does help so much. Sorry for all the annoying plugs. I know. It's not fun for anybody to listen to that stuff, but every time I do, people do respond. So with that in mind, thank you all so much again. Please check out Yvette's music. Please just go support your favorite artists. Go support your favorite content creators. Go support people who are making things that make your day-to-day life a little bit more enjoyable in some way, shape, or function. Go buy their t-shirt. Hit them up on Patreon, give them an extra stream, whatever the case may be. Just go help them out. The creatives in your life, I would think I'm not making too big of an assumption to say that they probably have a big impact. I know they do in mine, and I do my best to support those that I can. Obviously, nobody can support everybody, but, do what you can. And if you can't do it monetarily, that is totally understandable. But like I ask with this podcast, share it with a friend. If you have a favorite song you've been jamming, share it with me. Send it to me. Why not? Shoot me a text at 503-751-8577. On that, I am chatting with people every single day. We're talking about music. We're talking about art. We're talking about gear. We're talking about pizza. We are talking about all kinds of stuff. Music business is a big focus right now, and I am responding to every single person to the very best of my abilities. I don't think I've missed anybody yet, which is a lot considering we are well over 100 people that are chatting with me over there at this point. So if you want to send me your favorite song right now, shoot me a text to 503-751-8577. So yeah, that'll be in the show notes, so don't swerve off the road to try to write that down or anything. But I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to send you all that extra kind of random content that I'm sending out to the people who are on that text chat. All right. Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Talk to you next time. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.